Hi, my name's Gary, and I'm going to open up today with a statement that somebody said to me many years ago, and it's something that I've had to live and learn the hard way in the last few years. And that statement is that if you don't take care of money, money will take care of you. I grew up very poor. Didn't have a dad. My mom struggled as a secretary, and I grew up with friends who always used to get pocket money. They used to be able to buy sweets and chocolates and go to movies, and I didn't have those opportunities to be able to partake in that. So at a very young age, I actually managed to learn that I need to actually go out there and earn my own money or I will be left behind, and decided I needed to start my own little business at the age of 14. And what I did is I was armed with a drill, and I went to a shop and I procured some peepholes. And I used to go door to door in the neighborhood, knocking on people's front doors and saying, would you like one of these installed? It'll be R5 each, etc., etc. And I think a lot of the first sales that I ever encountered was a pity sale. Made enough money out of that there just to buy a few sweets and etc., etc., but I wanted more. And more came in the effect of when I got to standard 9, standard 7, grade 9, where I had the opportunity from our next door neighbor who said to us she had a small electrical problem that she needed fixed. I'm very good with my hands, and I went and I did it for free for her. Then the time came where she needed her whole house done, and I said to her, Mrs. Randalls, I can do it, but I'm not authorized to do it, but let me see if I can try and fix this problem for you. And what I did is I went to our electrical teacher and I said to him, here's the deal. I'll do the work, you check the work, and I'll cut you in on a part of the payment. And he took it up and he said, that's a fantastic idea. Weekends, holidays, I wound up working in Mrs. Randall's home. Rewired it, there was 1 or 2 wires that were wrong, but primarily the job was signed off as okay. I got to a point that he had confidence in me, where he said to me, okay, I saw what you did over there. How would you like to come and work on weekends with me and wire up bakeries and BMW showrooms, etc., etc.? And that's what I used to do on a Saturday and a Sunday. I used to go out and help him. What happened with all of that there is that coming from no money, now I had learned that there's an excess of money. And I was able to go out and buy my own TVs and motorbikes at the age of 15, 16, and spend. So money to me became irrelevant. It was something that I knew I could get if I just applied myself to it. I went through my school career, went out, did a few jobs out there, and then decided one day to start my own. And I opened up a restaurant called Andriotti's, and I hand built it myself. All the walls we did, the decor, procured second-hand equipment, and we opened up and we were a great success from the get-go. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough clientele during the day to allow us to have lunches and what have you, and so I got very bored just working in the evenings. And one of my customers said to me, Gary, you good with your hands, why don't you come and build a deck for me? And I thought, it can't be that hard. And I went out and I built it, and it came out absolutely perfect. And that was the idea that sparked and said, okay, well, do both. And so I ran both. But the problem with that is that I just had small kids. Just had my first son. And I was working literally from 4:30 in the morning, running through, doing paperwork for the business, doing manual labor the whole day, get home in the afternoon at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, go for a quick shower. My wife would run the business for that period from 4 to 6. I would then take over, run the restaurant into 10, 11 o'clock that evening, and then I would get into my van and take the staff all the way into KwaMashu and go and drop them off. I'd get home at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be up at 4 again. And that went on for just over 2 years. It's one of the saddest things in my life because I actually missed watching my babies grow, and you'll never ever get that time back again. But I was so driven and passionate to earn money because I thought if you earn money, you will automatically have a better life. And I've learned, unfortunately, that that is not how the world works. The business doing the decking got so busy that I had to make a decision. either keep the restaurant and the decking company or sell one or the other. And I opted to sell off the Andreotti's franchise and concentrate only on decking. Within the next 3 to 4 years, I was the biggest sun decking company in South Africa. We had 11 teams. We were working everything from Eastern Cape to Gauteng. We were doing massive projects. After working exceptionally hard for the initial stages of the business, the fruit started bearing, and we had a high life. I mean, we were fortunate enough to have nice cars like BMW Z4s, Mercedes compressors. I had 2 superbikes in the garage. I had a beautiful home that we refurbished, and I had money in the bank. I didn't have a budget that I could work from, and money meant nothing to me. It was just an irrelevant number. It didn't matter how much debt I had, because next month we would always have the opportunity to actually make more. And friends and family said to us, okay, fine, you know what you're doing. And I still didn't listen. And I went out there and I tried to start another business and bought helicopters so that I could entertain customers, friends, family. And I went out there and became a helicopter pilot. And if you want to throw money at something, buy a helicopter, because it'll cost you between 5,000 and 6,000 rand per hour to fly a helicopter. I used to also give a lot to charity and what have you, to the schools. So if they had like a fete, I would bring the helicopter along and offer it off as a money-making piece of machinery. And every time I did that, it would cost 30 grand, 40,000 rand, and that I just didn't even come into it. I didn't budget for it. It was just another number added to the debt, which then ultimately led to my demise. Because as soon as you enter into a recession, and this is what a lot of people forget, is that you spend all that money on buying a car, you spend all that money on buying a house and refurbing it. As soon as there's a downturn in the economy and there's a recession, try and sell that car. And within 18 months, just on 3 of my vehicles, I lost over 250,000 rand. But I didn't give a rat's, because I didn't like the color, or it was getting a bit old, or etc., etc. And once again, the friends and family would say to you, Gary, you are burning it on both ends here. How are you affording all of this? It's fine. Money is not an issue. It finally got to a point with the sun decking company where I had procured a tender to do the soccer stadium and the beachfront, and it was a massive tender. It was nearly 5 million rands worth of work to me. And I remember the one day that I was in my Z4, not too far from where we're sitting over here now, where I received a phone call from the construction company telling me that you've been awarded the tender and you can get going on it as quickly as you can. And I just remember the arrogance that I had of driving that car and then thinking to myself, how stupid does anyone in this world have to be not to be a millionaire? And God's got a sense of humor, and he said, I'll show you. And within 6 months, I'd found myself sitting there with 5 million rands worth of debt. I had no work coming in, because after the 2010 Soccer World Cup, construction just took a dive. And you try and sell your house, or try and get yourself out of the hole in a situation like that, you'll find out that your 2-3 million rand house that you've taken up from nothing by refurbing it and spending copious amounts of money on the house suddenly is worth half that amount. And in actual fact, as I sit here today, I am still paying off nearly 500,000 rands worth of negative equity that I had managed to procure in a house that I no longer own. So I'm still paying off on a house that I don't own. I wound up selling the business because I got tired after 16 years of being on my own with the business and going through ups and downs and recessions. You actually get so tired that you don't really give a hoot anymore. And I was fortunate enough to actually come and work for a salary, a company that's a dynamic company, and I really, really enjoy the position that I have in that company. From a monetary point of view, I'm probably earning 1/3 of what I used to earn. If you have a look at it from that point of view, I used to take home 120, 150,000 Rand a month sometimes. The upside of all of this there is now that I've actually learnt the value of money, debt is the central, most important thing that I never ever want to get myself into again. And you then realize that it's not about the Smiths and the Joneses and how much money you have, etc., etc. Because 9 times out of 10, those people are also up to their eyeballs in debt. They're just not showing it. And if you can just start off your life and live within your means and save, I cannot stress enough about saving. Don't go out there and go buy a tablet just because everybody else has got a tablet. Don't go and buy a 60-inch TV or a nice car or flash clothes or a nice house, etc., etc. During the high life, when I had all the material things that I had in those days, we used to often invite friends. In actual fact, every single weekend we had at least 20 people at my home with meat and drinks and having a good time. And within the group of friends that I had, there was one particular chap. And the one day I said to him, Derek, why is it that we always invite you to our home, but we never ever get to go to your home? And he thought about it and he said to me, Gary, to be honest with you, I feel embarrassed coming to your home with all these wonderful possessions that you have in your life. I feel very, very embarrassed to bring you to my meager little home in Maritzburg. And that worried me a little bit, because that wasn't why we were friends, but I was projecting that image and it made him feel uncomfortable, as if we were in 2 different social areas in our lives and we couldn't transgress and go between each other. Certainly from my side it didn't mean anything, but in his particular life it did. And in actual fact, now as life has gone through, we've now achieved antithesis, because he, unbeknownst to me, was saving his money. He was buying and paying his car off quickly. He was actually paying his house off quickly. He was investing money and investing into a business, which now gives him maybe 4 times more return than what I'm earning, and he doesn't have any debt at all. So that was a turning point in my life there. There's this natural thing that the human being seems to get to. The more you have, the more you want, the more you seem to explain it as self-entitlement. You've worked so hard, therefore you need to spend on luxuries and goods and etc., etc. And unfortunately, it's a false promise. And it's something that if you live that life, you're going to learn the lesson hard. The exciting thing in my life at the moment now is that I'm getting ready to launch a new venture. And with this new venture that we are currently undertaking, I am determined and I know that we are going to be a success again. But this time around, it is going to be done completely and absolutely in a different way. Money and what we have available and what we are spending are going to be discussed, and only if we absolutely have to spend that money will we spend that money. And only when I am one day debt-free will I then be able to go and spoil myself and the family again. But definitely, if you're young and you are wanting to get somewhere in your life, just stay within your means, stay at home as long as you can. Don't go out there and try and stay up there with the Joneses and the Smiths. Save your money, invest it into things like property or something tangible. Don't go out there and invest it into cars and shoes and what have you. You'll never ever get that money back again.